Hello everyone and welcome to another bite-sized battle report in which we focus on the tactics and outcomes of the game as opposed to the dice rolling. Today we have the Harlequins for you, who have been struggling a bit in 10th edition, and they are taking on the mighty Death Guard with not only Mortarion but also a great unclean one. The mission for you today is take and hold, so the primary is hold 1, hold 2, hold 3. And we also have hidden supplies, so there is an extra objective across the middle of the board. Both players have gone tactical secondaries. Hopefully you enjoy this battle report, and if you do, please do give it a like, please do give us a subscribe, and heck, why not even become a member for even more content. That's all of us, let's head down to the battlefield. 2,000 points of Eldar Harlequins. For transports we have got 5 Star Weavers with units of 5 Harlequin troops in them. We have got 2 Troop Masters attached to 2 of the units, and then the Death Jester and Solitaire are also in the boats. 3 Void Weavers for killing the odd thing and causing battle shock tests. 1 big 12-man unit with all the fusion and the Troop Master too. For our characters we've got 3 Troop Masters. We have got the Solitaire, who can go and attack something and fail to kill it. And then the Death Jester with Fate's Messenger for either extra death wound or exploding 6s. And 6 Skyweavers in 3 units of 2 for anti-tank goodness.
2,000 points of Death Guard with some Nurgle spice. So we have a bit of a tasting platter of Nurgle stuff in this particular list. It's a mix of, there's some good stuff in here, but there's also some fun stuff. As far as the characters goes, we have 2 big boys. We have Mortarion and Kugarth hanging out just like in the Dark Imperium series. Mortarion obviously very dangerous warlord, lots of force multiplying buffs from him. And a great unclean one is just a big slab of wounds to go and stand in places. He's got a nice little flamer and he's not bad in melee either. In terms of the support characters, we've got a Terminator Sorcerer, who I tend to use just as a little utility drop-in. We've got a lot of Virulence to run with some Death Shroud. And then we have 2 Biologist Putrefiers, who, as you will all know by this point, give you some nice grenade shenanigans and some extra mortal wounds. In terms of the sort of supporting utility in the infantry, we have 2 little 5-mans of Plague Marines. I'm running them with heavy plague weapons, plasma guns and blight launchers. We have 2 squads of Death Shroud, my favourite Death Guard unit, who are just general good little melee units with nice little anti-infantry guns. And then we have some Plague Bearers in support just for some nice OC2 to put in places and sort of gum up an objective, and some Poxwalkers to basically just fill space and be brainless. That's what they like to do. In terms of the vehicles, obviously Plague Burst Crawlers, you've got to have a couple of those. 3 probably the optimal number, but I've got 2, so here they are. I love bloat drones, so we have Buzzall Drone over here with his mower, and Droney Mitchell with her Plague Spitters ready to go and cause trouble and skirmish. There is a Rhino. You might notice this is a Night Lord's Rhino. My lovely Death Guard Rhino is at my parents' house. I'm very sorry, everyone.
Hello everyone and welcome to the battlefield, Harlequins versus Scummy Death Guard. So, deployment has been done. Tom, do you want to talk us through the plan?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. With an army like Death Guard and with a couple of big monsters, you sort of want to set up to be able to get out of a bunch of different places, right? Obviously, the army is very vulnerable to blocking. You have to get to the primary points. That's where most of your sort of advantage in the game is. So I've just set up so that tanks can start rolling out in different directions. Morty and the Great Unclean One can both head to the middle and start making trouble. I've got the Rhino hidden away because obviously being able to launch Plague Marines later is more valuable. Don't want to lose that too early. And I've got sort of the backfield just shored up. Tons of OC with Plague Bearers on the objective, and then Poxwalkers are just there to screen the corner and do an action as and when. So it's all, yeah, it's fairly formulaic, right? It just needs to trundle out from those places and start kind of starting the trouble. And then it's about how Chris interacts with that and how my reserves coming in interact with that as well.
What have you got in reserve?
So in reserve we have the 2 squads of Death Shroud. One of them is being led by the Lord of Virulence. So those are very good at hurting Harlequins, so they're a nice piece for keeping Chris honest. And then I've also got the Terminator Sorcerer. He's running on his own because his shooting output's very good, but also he's just a small footprint, which again causes more of a screening issue, gives me a backup option for secondary scoring and stuff like that as well.
Very nice. From the Harlequin perspective, obviously we've got the flying vehicles, which aren't actually that great anymore, but they've got a lot of manoeuvrability, so we've kind of set up for an equal-ish split. So we've got more shooting heavy on this side of the 2 Void Weavers, although one is designed to be able to skip across. And then we've got Solitaire here, and a Troopmaster one there. We've got a Troopmaster one here, and we've got Death Jester. This have got no one with them, so they can be the first ones to go out and die in the middle of the board. In terms of points, I've put in Strat Reserve, obviously you can only have 500, which unfortunately is not all my Sky Weavers and the big blob. Tom has 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, which we're going to love to shell the 12-man. We're going to love to shell these guys because they're haywire. Couldn't fit it all in, so these guys are just deployed on the line. If I get to go first, I can reach and put some shots into that one just before they die, basically. Now, play dice. I'm going to roll now, because you only get 6 now. I don't have a Farseer to be chipping them away, or turning them into 6s, sorry. So actually, what I really want here is a 6 for my Strat Reserve charge for my Harlequin. So here come all the 6s. Right, so I've got 1 6, I've got 2 4s. The 1s, 2s and 3s are essentially irrelevant in this game. They will be used by a Troopmaster who has like a Fate's Messenger, his own kind of ability. I think realistically I have to take that. It's bang average, it's bang even. If that was a 5, that would have been a perfect roll. So yeah, we will keep that. Which I believe leaves us just one thing left to do, Tom, which is the first turn roll. Do you want to go first?
I think probably yes, because I think you can fill the space very assertively, and going first gets me the chance to get things into the right places.
You can get across to the mid board and say deal with me.
Our assessment sort of going into it is like, if I can get on the points, the primary feels good for Death Guard, and it forces Chris to send lots of stuff out, which also helps me, right? Yeah. If I can't, that gives Chris a couple of turns, and secondaries for this list are not going to be the best. I can tell you now.
I play secondaries better.
Yeah,
plays primary
exactly that. So I think in that situation, you do want to get going and get momentum rolling. Obviously, if you're on end of turn and taking hold, that is nice. It's not a bad thing, but I think Chris has got a lot of stuff to throw away, and he's got enough mobility threat to get me. So let me just get my loaded dice out.
I think, unfortunately, the general problem is that going first just gives you that ability to stage and create problems so often. So actually, barring very specific scenarios, first turn is very powerful.
I think exactly that, yeah.
Do show that. Yeah. So let's find out with this Team England map. I rolled a 3. You rolled a 3.
Get out of my brain!
Oh, here we go. A 5.
Oh no!
I do get to go first, so now if we lose, I can't blame that. Right, we will come back to let you know my first turn cards. Turn 1 cards are Area Denial and Engage on all fronts. Okay, so end of the movement phase for the Eldar. In terms of plan, so obviously we're trying to score Area Denial, we're trying to score engage on all fronts, but we're also trying to either move block or just get some sort of primary advantage early on, because that's where we're going to be struggling in this game. So these Sky Weavers here, just exactly as planned, have come here just out of Overwatch range there, and then they can fire just weaken this guy with their haywire. It might be the only thing that ever shoots that tank. we'll see. On this side of the board, we've just lined up shots into Great Unclean One. Not expecting to kill it, but we're just going to start trying to chip away a little bit of damage. It might completely fall flat, but you know, hopefully it works out in the long run. This is still at the back here. We did advance this unit of Harlequins for Engage. They're the empty unit with no special character, and I rolled a 6. So I managed to tuck in over here, and the idea being that if flamers come over this way, I could phantasm this way. I've got some phantasm options. I'm also slightly just towing onto that objective, just to threaten the 15. Unfortunately, what I'd love to have done is just stick 5 Harlequin troops here. That would have been the ideal play, but the flamer kills them, so it's just not. I mean, well, the flamer probably kills them, so it's just probably not worth the sacrifice of a unit. Over this side, this guy advanced, but this guy didn't. This is the solitaire unit just setting up here and this here, and they are basically set up so they can shoot down this line into Morty, into the Great Unclean One. We're just trying to chip away wounds, just try and get hopefully a 10 on primary, and then just start building up from there and hope that Tom draws some crap cards, basically. So yeah, I'll come back just to let you know how the incredible shooting prowess goes on. Oh, wow, that was brutal. And by brutal, I mean not really at all. Tom popped smoke on this because he was worried about, because they can one-shot it if I roll 4 shots, 4 wounds, dev wounds. That does just pop a tank. I did hit 3 of the 4 times, but I only unfortunately wounded 1 of the times. So he's taken 3, and then we had all the shooting here, went in there and did nothing apart from a fate messengered death jester to just do 2 mortal wounds over there. The issue being all my shuriken strength 6, and these 2 lovely chaps are toughness 12. And then coming around here again, like the 2 Void Weavers fired into Morty, because Morty I'm just trying to soften up. As he comes here, he's going to be more threatening. It's quite likely that the Great Unclean One just shuffles slowly over here and is a problem for a later date.
Who told you my plans?
Whereas Morty can obviously come and sit in the middle and say, I'm going to beat you up now. So for me it feels like it makes sense to try and chip away. Eventually I managed to get through 1 Void Weaver shot, but the Feel No Pains did some work, so Morty has taken 2 damage. So in terms of points, reasonable. In terms of move blocking, nothing. In terms of damage, nothing. So we'll see what Tom can do on his turn 1. Death Guard cards for round 1 are Engage on all fronts and Area Denial. Right, Tom, end of your movement phase of turn 1. You've got the same card as I got. So,
I did, yeah, and I'm not quite as quick as you.
No.
So I'm saying I'm going to have a CP instead of engage.
Yep.
Especially as I carelessly spent 1 to heal Mortarion and only got 1 wound back. So there we go. But that did halve your output
It
going
did
into
halve,
it. That's
you passed.
pretty good.
Yeah.
So that was fun. And I am. A lot of the movement in this turn is shaped by the fact that there's 4 Skyweavers with Haywire coming in. I think it's on this flank I've kind of positioned stuff to stop them getting a nice drop here. This pocket's kind of effectively screened out between these units. They can't just come in and take out my vehicles on this side. Obviously, we're sort of turning this into hammer and anvil and pushing up towards each other, which is textbook. I'm a little too light on assets on this flank to protect this crawler. So what I've done is shove it, Morty, and the Great Unclean One at the same time. The thinking being, if he kills all of those,
it's a really quick
he deserves the win. I've had a lovely day, and
Yeah.
I've got no problem with that, and that's how that goes. But hopefully that gives him an overload situation, and it's a few more things than he wants to be trying to do at once. Morty's going to go and bop these bikes on the head, fire the lantern, see if that does anything, and try and sort of trim. I mean, obviously we've got sights on this Void Weaver here. The damage 4 is really obnoxious, and I'd like the Void Weavers to be trimmed down before the Death Shroud arrive, because they're very good at killing Death Shroud. So hopefully take 1 Void Weaver out. I've denied Chris primary here, but Chris has very nicely stretched the play in the elf way, which means he will be getting a 10. I don't really have any logical way of preventing that this turn. I'd have been gambling on a big advance for some Plague Marines that I don't want to use just yet. I'm saving them for later on when there's more juicy targets.
Yep.
So yeah, in the main, it's a quite tentative turn, but I'm hopefully going to pick up a couple of units, which obviously, given Chris hasn't hurt me units-wise yet, that gives me a nice little sort of foot up. And then the party will really start in turn 2, won't it? Because we've gone out to the points, we're sat on the points, we're ready to go. So
ready to rumble.
Let's see if we can kill some elves.
Yeah, and from my perspective, these guys, they phantasmed over this side, disadvanced. And the reason I phantasmed over this side was because next turn, if I want to move them, whilst sat here, I wouldn't have been able to, because I would have got Overwatch to death straight away. Both these advanced, they can't do anything currently, so I phantasmed here, So I'm safe, and I can use them next turn as I see fit. So yeah, we'll come back and let you know just how durable the Harlequins were. So how was the mighty Death Guard output, Tom?
It swung, didn't it, Chris? I lined up, the Plague Burst Crawler fired everything it had into a Void Weaver and didn't do any damage of any kind.
Literally nothing.
Absolutely no damage of any kind. And then Mortarian's Lantern went off, sustained D3, so that was exciting, and he got 3 additional hits, but still only did 3 damage. And left it on a wound with his other shooting, and then eventually I shelled it to death with another mortar over here. So I think it would have been nice to have that dead earlier, so I could fire stuff at other things, like shell the troop over there, or fire one of these transports. But realistically, when you're shooting into a 4-up, it can go that way, and it was just a case of not quite getting it done.
Yeah, Tom rolled a lot of 1s and 2s.
There were a lot of 1s and 2s when they were really needed, or not needed rather. The good news was that Morty did then just absolutely chop up the 2 Skyweavers very happily.
Oh, only just.
It was close.
If I
close,
two more 4-ups.
But my man got it done.
He got it done.
And so he scores area denial. I throw away engage for a CP, because I think in the next turn, having options with the extra CP is really useful. And now it's time to see what the Harlequins are going to do in reply.
And for me, reflecting already, so without doing the maths, I was just like, yeah, I definitely want the shuriken cannons. That's why I put my Void Weaver here, so I could fire my shuriken cannons as well, without actually clocking onto the fact that they're wounding on 6s into Morty. So actually, the reality was that Void Weaver, which I initially moved over here, and only the prism would have been in range, that would have been a better position. So always do the maths, boys and girls, always do the maths. So we will come back to tell you what cards I drew. For Harlequin turn 2, we have no prisoners and defend stronghold. Right, the Harlequin turn 2 movement phase is over. In terms of cards, obviously we've got defend stronghold, which should hopefully be okay. And then we have no prisoners. Tom's not presenting many chewy targets at the moment, and I can't really get to them. Well, the warp spiders when you want them. So in terms of reducing assets, that's quite tricky. On top of that, as we've discussed, Tom has gone big targets, big scary targets. For me, as we've established before, my goal here really is about primary denial. So Morty's OC6, which is really annoying. So I've put a boat and troop, and there's a troop master there, one here, and we've got phantasmable opportunities. I'll tweak that. Basically, they're like kind of rung around here within 3 and that sort of thing. Then over here, we're just basically saying no primary there, no primary there. So I was feeling pretty good until I remembered this thing called rapid ingress, and this one was sat looking pretty for a Terminator rapid ingress. So I mean, I could have pointed both Void Weavers at that spot and said, do it if you fancy it, but instead I decided to give away an empty boat, which will probably get chopped up by something later. But it does put Tom on a 5 next turn, I think.
It does. You've done that.
Hopefully that doesn't go wrong. And so it's again just, can I do that for 2 turns, score my points, and Tom's obviously going to have a good go at trying to put me potentially on a 5 as well to even it up. So but if I can build that secondary lead, but that won't involve me killing some stuff. There's only one thing that I'm fairly confident will die, so that's not ideal. But yeah, we'll come back to let you know how it went. Okay, so yeah, well, eventually we killed the Plague Burst Crawler.
Yeah, had a real good go at living.
Basically each Sky Weaver unit did 3 mortal wounds, and that was it.
Yeah.
And the Void Weaver had to step up and polish it off.
Got it done.
This unit did nothing to Morty. Over here, I got excited and then realised, and Tom reminded me that their fusion's only D3 damage, not D6. So this guy's alive on 3. I did grenade him as well. There was a consideration for charging here. The problem is that if I don't kill it, and we worked out the maths, and it's very 50-50. I do on average 2 to 3 wounds, and he's got 3 wounds left. If I don't kill it, fights back, kills them, and then all my hard work at denying primary is over. So yeah, in terms of no prisoners, disappointing. Defend stronghold, I should be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll just see how hard this clapback is next. For turn 2, Tom has Overwhelming Force and Extend Battle Lines. Okay, your turn 2 movement phase is complete. Tom, what are you doing?
So the cards line up beautifully. This is why tactical sometimes is the right thing. I know a lot of Death Guard players play Cleanse Homers. Obviously, the list I had slightly forced my hand in that sense because it's not a Cleanse Homers list. I just don't have Nurglings running around and all that kind of thing. But I just like when the tactical things can line up and you can just be scoring whilst really focusing on playing the primary and dealing with the opponent. In this case, great cards. So we're just pushing. I'm trying to get on all of the central objectives because, as we've seen, the more Chris splits up, the harder it is for him to deal damage. And as he starts losing assets, that gets really difficult as well. So there's a couple of slightly longer charges down this flank for the Plague Marines. I'm hoping to at least trim the Sky Weavers so that they're not just going to run around the board killing every vehicle I have. And then Chris has obviously only really put light chaffy units out, Star Weavers and a couple of foot troops at the moment, but I'm going to try and get into those and at least kill enough for Overwhelming Force and sort of secure myself in the midboard and then say we go again.
Very nice. So I have Rapid Ingress over here, just out of Overwatch range there. So my 8-inch move next turn would get me to here. So then I will have charge threats there with the big blob. It might well be there a one and done unit because they are going to be going straight into the enemy mouth. But the thing I was saying to Tom is that I've given him a 5. But if he just gets 15, 15, 15, he still gets his 50.
Yeah.
So I've got to work really hard next turn as well to try and give him a 5 or a 10.
And it's worth saying, this is a common feature of 10th missions, which is a distinction between it and 9th, where 9th you could get stuck in this headlock holding pattern on primary really quickly. And I feel like it's something they've gone away and thought about, where you can dip in the first round, and actually it doesn't end up being very consequential if the rest of the battle doesn't play out that way.
Absolutely. The only thing of note is that I did Phantasm these guys. I needed a 4 to get an inch away from the wall. I rolled a 3. So I've got 4 safe people. I've got 2 people here who, if Tom puts a little bit of shooting in and pulls I can kill 2, then I am not chargeable from that wall. So that's all I could do with that. But yeah, we'll let you know how the shooting and charging and fighting and all the fun stuff goes next. Right, so Death Guard, you have done some things in your turn 2. What are those things?
We have done the Death Guard thing and we have waddled onto points and started smacking stuff because that's what they're good at. So we've retaken the midboard and we killed a Star Weaver and a troop. And then we've done sort of whittling damage on the flank. So this Star Weaver was a big Void Weaver was a big damn hero and survived an attack from the Plague Marines. I'd run out of CP to juice up their output, so I think that was always quite a possibility over there. And then we've got a lone Harlequin who survived the charge of Buzz Aldrone over on this flank and is ready to cause mischief on that side as well. So again, the pattern's fairly established, right? I'm sort of setting up. Chris then has to feed assets to try and sort of firefight and deal with the situation. I'm pretty much committed now. I've just got 1 squad in reserves, so it does start to get easier to play around me and also to shut off my ability to score some of the cards as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one from my perspective. I'm sat here into battle round 2 going like, okay, well, Death Guard are slow, but they are now where they need to be.
Yes, and this is where I think the map and mission is quite Death Guard suited.
The attrition rate of which I can throw stuff out, yes, great, I stopped him from... I gave him a 5, but he's just gone straight back and given me a 5. And if I can give him a 5, next turn, which is take a lot of my resources, I then pretty much get tabled on a fight back. And yeah, we are very good at not engaging, so we can play the edges and move around and score our secondary cards. But if the Death Guard just dies slowly enough on the points and we can't go on the points, then kind of irrespective. So we're in a bit of trouble, so we'll see what we can concoct in turn 3 for the Harlequins. The Harlequin turn 3 cards are Assassination and Overwhelming Force. Okay, right, Harlequin movement phase of turn 3 is done. Lots of issues to deal with here. Cards involve killing characters. Tempting to try and beat up Morty, but if I don't kill Morty, then it's just game. So we've kind of got some things. We're really trying to overload here and lock this down to try and see if we can get some 10 primary going on. I was just being a nuisance here and just seeing if we can deal. It already feels like a bit of an issue. Just I don't think I'm going to score enough primary in this game, but we'll see how it goes. So the Solitaire's come out here and blitzed, hopefully to kill this guy for assassinate and also kill this squad in general. And as long as he's not in combat with that guy at the end, he can get back in this boat. I had to empty that boat out because of the way the wording is, so they have just come here for a rainy day. This boat that was in combat has moved over here. The troop master that was alive got back in, but that will mean that the 5 plague marines in this rhino can't pop out forward, which is obviously the goal.
Protecting you on that side.
Yeah. These guys are here staged, ready to charge. I'm just going to see what they do. Hopefully something. This goddamn hero is going to throw grenades and kill this. I'm fairly certain.
The math says yes, he does.
The math says 100% of the time I roll 3 out of 6 4-ups, so that's good. And these guys are here and they can just shoot into the Terminators. And you know what? I'm so confident of rolling 3 6s. I'm going to do it right now on camera.
This is the grenade coming.
This is the grenade.
All right, get ready. Let's see it. Let's see what
so this guy, he's seen his troops die. He's angry. He knows he's not long for this world. But he pulls the pin. I doubt Harlequin grenades have pins. And he rolls 3 6s.
He's done it.
He's done it. He's done so many more wounds. What a hero.
Does the drone explode?
And take him with him.
Yes!
Oh, you son of a... And that's why we don't show dice rolls on camera. It just sucks.
That's when my luck kicks in, doesn't it?
Okay, right. So, well, we did some things, but not many things. Obviously, you saw the sheer beauty over here.
The death of Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah. Over here, not so great. The Solitaire killed, with 12 attacks, killed the character and 1 plague marine, and then hopped back into them. Then into the boat. On their fight back, they were able to kill the Void Weaver. I guess the moment, so to speak, is I used a 6 on their dice, so I needed a 3 on the other dice to make the charge here. I rolled a 1. Now, obviously, that is less than ideal. It's not the end of the world, simply because if he can't get in a position to flamer really, and he can't get in a position to charge as long as I have my CP to Phantasm these guys. So CP gets me away from the wall for Phantasm, even if I roll a 1, and I can just make some little adjustments here, and then can strike out again next turn, depending on how Tom positions, obviously. So it's not the end of the world failing the save, but obviously it is sad times because things could go wrong and they might get mortared a bit and stuff like that. So swings and roundabouts, but I did score my assassinate, I did score my overwhelming force, but Tom is now going to get a 15, and that is the problem, especially because Morty's, I mean, I did a little bit to Morty, but not much. We're here. Yeah, it's not great, guys. Hopefully Tom draws bad cards. So we'll come back and let you know how bad those cards are next. Turn 3 Death Guard cards are Investigate Signals and Bring It Down. Hey, Death Guard feels like they're in the ascendancy at the bottom of turn 3. How are you going to push home the advantage?
There's a bit of a mix here, and this is where some of the sort of advantages Death Guard have start to play out in a situation like this. You know, the elves have lost more assets, a little bit vulnerable on the primary themselves, and Death Guard sticking objectives creates a problem on a map like this. 6 points. Morty can walk off this one and say until something gets on it, it's not going to change. I've got a hold on this one, but I'm trying to lock up the 2 flank ones. I'm keeping this light. Again, it is sticky, so something has to come out to deal with it. We're just going to focus on the secondaries, because that's where we're a little bit weaker, get signals with the zombies and try and kill a few vehicles. And that then puts us in quite a strong point and keeps the elf primary down. And I think that's the situation. And then it sort of, at that stage, it's kind of, you feel like there's probably only one more elf wave in the locker.
Yeah.
And Morty's now healed back up to only having taken 1 wound, so he's a real menace on this flank. So I think that's it. And it's a case of just saying, again, if you want to stop us dominating the midboards, you have to come and play. And it's a very dangerous place now with so much nasty, smelly goodness all over it.
Yeah, so there might be a few less Harlequins left on the board after this turn. We will come back and let you know how it went. How did the plan go, Thomas?
Yeah, pretty well. I think we cleaned up where we needed to, so we got rid of the troop master and the boat down here and the bike and the boat over here, and we now got Morty on this point on the flank. So trying to stretch the remaining elves out and need to be in too many places. Did fall short on killing this. Would have been nice, but there you go. Just can't have it all. And we'll wait now and see as we go into round 4 what the kind of elf response looks like.
Well, you should be scared.
I'm terrified.
Should be.
We're wrecking it. Matarin's had a wound taken off him. He's pretty.
He's still not at full health.
Pretty scared.
Oh yes. Right. Okay. I mean, if this solitaire doesn't wipe this entire flank, then something's seriously wrong with the game. Right. Well, we'll let you know what the Harlequin cards are for turn 4. Harlequin turn 4 cards are attempting target and storm hostile objectives. Okay, backs against the wall. What is the plan? Well, we've still got some stuff to do, some things with. So in terms of my cards, with attempting target, crazily, Tom's chosen this one. What a madman. Yeah, I've no way of affecting that. Now, the solitaire could have just run over there and maybe have killed the Plague Marines, but that doesn't actually achieve anything, so he's come back here in the hope that he can kind of do something a bit later. I've got 5 troop who needed to roll basically anything more than a 1 to kind of get over here and be safe, and rolled a 1, so they are just holding my backfield at the moment. Over here, I've kind of come round to just try and deal with this. Like, it's quite simple. So these guys, they've got the potential to fire and fade, and then Tom overwatched them and only killed 1. So it was always going to be what does he overwatch, and he could either watch I kind of figured
1 less asset if I could cause a big dent was better than just trimming of one that's
they
already
only
massive.
rolled
but then didn't do it. That's right. It happens that way.
So basically, these guys can fire and fade onto both objectives. So that'll take Tom off that one, and hopefully take him off that one.
Once some shooting gets involved.
Once some shooting does a goal, and then hopefully over here we can come round, and then the goal in a perfect world would be that Tom only gets a 10 on primary, because he'll hold his backfield and he'll hold that one over there. So that's that. But I mean, it's clutching at straws to say it's a great play, because I'm not going to score attempting target when I realistically need to be scoring my CP, my cards all the time. Hopefully I get a storm hostile objective though. But yeah, a bit grim. The scores are, in theory,
still
tight.
Close, yeah, still very close.
The problem is that Tom's about to score 10 more points. So, but hey, if we're in a teams format, we're trying to keep it as close as possible, which is always my go-to when I'm
That's
losing.
what we're about these days.
Yeah, we're a teams team. So yeah, we'll let you know how it goes when we come back. Okay, the punch back, the counter-attack has happened. And some beautiful fire and fading manoeuvring over here. I killed one of them in shooting. Look, taking that objective back. And then we had a glorious charge of 12 Harlequin troop. And as you can see, he is still there.
Hey!
So my shooting managed to leave this bloat drone on 1 wound. I needed my CP for the fire and fade, so I couldn't grenade or anything. So 4 guys went into the bloat drone, and 8 guys and troop master went in here. Now, for those who don't know, Harlequin troop are +1 to wound on the charge, but more importantly, they had devastating wounds when led by a troop master. This was a mighty 54 attacks of the Eldar's finest, ducking and weaving, ready to inflict damage on 5s and 6s, but specifically 6s. So you can imagine my sadness when we did not roll 1 single 6 to injure this guy.
Yeah, the drone almost survived.
In fact, only rolled 1 5 to wound. But thankfully, Tom very kindly failed that save. And then 32 attacks, plus the troop master went in here. Not a single 6 to wound. So yeah, that's fun. And then 3 died on the splashback. So yeah, great turn. Well done, Harlequins. These guys, this was like old days. This was beautiful and tricksy. This was crap. That's made me really sad. So yeah, well, wow. We'll play Tom's turn 4, and we'll let you know how brutal it was. But yeah, we're kind of running out of resources now. Like, the game is one of those where you can almost talk it out, right? Because this is locked down. This is locked down. I've managed through skillful play to keep Tom to a 10, but he will get a 15 on his turn 5. I can't stop that. I'm going to get probably a 5, maybe a 10 if we're lucky. But yeah, we will see how we go. So it's Death Guard turn 4 next. Okay, so for turn 4, the Death Guard have got Defend Stronghold and Assassination. They did have Capture Any Outpost, and for 1 CP, got rid of it for Assassinate. Death Guard turn 4. What is the plan, sir?
We are just going to try and whittle down and keep pinned the Harley troop that's come out. I think we've got enough stuff to trim the numbers down fairly substantially on that. Need to get rid of the Harley troop in the middle, and then it's a similar situation as before, just resetting our control of the midboard. The cards haven't been as kind. We've had probably quite nice luck, I'd say, on the cards, considering that we've just waddled to the middle and not done much else. But then now they're starting to abandon us, so we just need to make sure we're all set up for primary 15 in the final 10. And to that effect, I've hidden away in various places with different units all ready to go and boop out. And the hope being that Chris isn't really going to be able to interfere with that in the final turn. Nice. So as long as that troop doesn't somehow tank everything and kill everything.
Go on.
I do wish I had a CP for tank shot. I should not have chucked capture, I should have just kept it. But you live and you learn. As long as it doesn't tank everything, I think we're in a good position. So we'll see what happens next.
Nice. And I phantasmed here. I needed a 5 to get behind here, but I did not. So now
it's become a very cruel strategy.
To become barbecue, I think.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
So yeah, we'll come back and let you know how it went. Right, how did it go, Thomas?
Pretty good, yeah, pretty good. So we got rid of the Harlequins that were stuck in no man's land, and then between vomiting and charging and scything, there was a moment, wasn't there, Chris?
There was a moment, we were so close. So I interrupted with the big plan that my 4 remaining troop and troop master could do 6 wounds to the Great Unclean One.
Yeah.
And the troop master did 3 dev wounds.
He really led by example. For
really,
a minute, we thought he was damaged too.
For a moment we thought, he might have damage too, but no, Harlequins aren't allowed damage too. So did 3, and then it was just up to the other guys, and I got through 9 hits. So I just needed to roll 3 6s out of 9 dice, which is statistically very likely, and he would have died, but I rolled no 6s. So that's 3rd times. So yeah, they're nearly dead. Basically, so Tom has binned off Assassinate, and he will get Defend Stronghold. I have no way of interacting with that. We will just play out the 2 turns, and then we'll come back to let you know the final score and debrief. Right, the game is done. Death Guard are victorious, as you can see from the score on the board. Still a reasonably close game. Secondary is obviously ever so slightly favoured Harlequins, and primary did not. Turn 5 was fun. We kind of managed to kill his Great Unclean One. Got very excited moment where we very nearly killed this for more, bring it down, and those 6s just weren't quite happening today on the wound rolls, unfortunately. We even ended up desperately charging here, but we did score our secure no man's land and a bit of bring it down. And then Tom had cleanse and behind enemy lines, so we got behind enemy lines there, and cleanse wherever he wants. So, Death Guard, how do you feel, Tom?
I haven't played them in a long time. I mean, they're good right now, aren't they? There's definitely some good stuff going on, and the Great Unclean One worked, and considering it was missing a few of the obvious things like Nurglings and trying to do fixed secondaries, I think it worked great. I think we spoke before, the mission, I think, favours Death Guard, because there's so many objectives in easy reach of their deployment, and there's primary for all of it, which is what they want to be doing, right? So I think the fact that it was a very generous primary helped them in this game, and played into the way they like to play. I really could get most of my points just by scrapping away over the middle all game.
Yeah, once you get to the middle, you've got to try and shift you, and the output of the Harlequins didn't really ever feel like ideal. Yeah. So Tom did a good job of only presenting the targets that I was bad into, my Skyweavers, in theory they should be into tanks, and he has got some vehicles, but he only ever let me put them into 1. Yeah. My strength 6 guns never really got to open up into the weaker stuff. Tom played really well. I tried to make it close in the team's format. That was something.
It's never been a good matchup for Elves, has it? Death Guard. It's always unpleasant. Mortarion was actually great in that game.
Yeah, well, he just tanked.
The Great Unclean One was more of a fun thing, and I wonder if you'd just focus him earlier, he'd probably gone, because I could heal Morty, whereas I couldn't heal him.
Yeah.
But Morty was really good, like just very versatile and nasty, punching around the middle. Really like
no, he did well, and especially good because you were able to control this area with him.
That's
the
it.
grey unclean one knocked this down, and then I was.
Yeah, unlike the other stuff, he can relocate fairly straightforwardly, right?
Yeah.
And he's quite hard to tie up with that weight of attacks.
Yeah. From the Harlequin perspective, like primary wise, obviously, with choices, we split up and tried to draw them out wide, but it didn't really work. Maybe it would have been better to focus on a certain part of the board. Secondaries obviously were good, scored 39 there, so nearly max. In terms of the list itself, I mean, if you're trying to take pure Harlequins, obviously the adult book is fantastic. So there's so many options you're choosing not to have. One little tweak, because Troop Masters are a complete waste of space, is you don't take the Troop Masters and you kind of have your Vayne into the big blob, because he heals them and all that sort of stuff. And that would have been really good. So maybe trying out her would be something I could do. But other than that, I'm happy enough with the list. Might try and get it to an RTT or something at some point, but it definitely doesn't feel competitive unless you're Mike Porter. So yeah, thank you very much for joining. As always, if you have got this far, give us a like, give us a subscribe, become a member, why not?
Do it. Do it, you lovely people.
Yeah, and it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from Tom.
See you soon. Bye-bye.